Hello.
Howdy.
Hey, in July of 2023, which was a lot warmer than it is now, we replaced our Suburban heater with a Planar Autoterm 2D diesel heater.
That's a mouthful. And why did we do this? And do we regret making that decision? We're going to let you know in this video, and stick with us with some tips that we've learned on using this diesel heater.
We have to show you this disclaimer.
We don't have any experience with other diesel heaters, and we've only been using this since late October, so our time is limited, but I think we can give you a good update on where we're at. If you do see anything, or if you disagree with any of the things that we're saying or have suggestions, please let us know in the comments.
So here we are, we're in Starved Rock State Park. Yeah, we're going to do some camping here in December, since it's, what, 50 degrees? Kind of unheard of in December.
Okay, elephant in the room. Let's talk about it.
So we're going to get the biggest question out of the way first. If we could do this all over again, would we still purchase the 2D Autoterm diesel heater?
And I'd have to say probably not.
And I would agree. And it's partly because it is undersized.
Yeah.
But we're going to get into all the details of the pros and cons that we have experienced in just a moment.
Propane 101.
Yeah.
Well, the first thing we were going to talk about are pros. The first pro is propane. We have definitely been using a ton less propane now that we have been using the diesel heater exclusively. Before, in the winter, we'd be using our 30-gallon LP tanks about every week and a half, would you say about there?
Yeah.
And now I was just checking that we are currently on week 9 of our propane tank, and we still have 25% left. So definitely a huge reduction. And that's a big deal because propane is kind of a pain in the ass to get on the road.
What we found is finding propane distributors that were actually available, because they have to have certified people doing it, was a challenge. And then trying to find a distribution place. I mean, Tractor Supply seemed to be our go-to, and they're not everywhere in the United States. So
It's so quiet.
So the next pro is the quietness of the diesel heater. Now this thing is extremely quiet. The Suburban heater was very noisy and would keep me awake at night every time it turned on. When the Planar heater turns on, I haven't even noticed it's on. A lot of times I don't even hear it.
You can actually hear the diesel heater. It's kind of cooling down right now.
In order to feel if it's on, I got to go feel the air coming out of it to make sure it's turned on. So it is a pretty quiet unit.
And another pro on the diesel heater is it's a lot less current draw than that Suburban propane heater. According to specs, the propane heater took about 7 amps when it was in full bore. This Autoterm 2D version only takes about a little less than 2.5 amps, and that's at the max, usually when the glow plugs are on.
Yeah.
We notice that the actual current is a bit less once that gets going.
Yeah, once it ramps up, it does drop off fairly quickly.
Which we really like, especially when we're boondocking.
All right, so pro number 3, or the next one, is the ease of installation. Now, taking the Suburban out with Suburban heater, it's like a great big huge shoebox, basically. It comes out as a big unit. The only hard part about that whole thing was capping off the LP line to make sure that it doesn't leak. Installing the diesel heater went very quickly. They give you everything you need. It was pretty straightforward. The instructions were pretty good. So there was some variables there, but you can go through it pretty easily. So.
Wait. I got one, dude. I got one. You want to hear it?
Yeah, let me hear it.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Interrupting cow.
Oh God, I know this one. Interrupting cow.
And if this has been entertaining or informative, please feel free to like this video and subscribe, because we would really appreciate the support.
Holy shit, that's a real cow.
I'm so cold.
And now it's time to get into some of the cons of this diesel heater. And our number one issue is that it really hasn't been able to get up to temp quick enough for our liking. We've been having a lot of problems with it just maintaining when it's really cold, and the really cold only means like 10 degrees so
10,
far.
10 to 20 degrees is what we're
So
considering.
it's struggling to maintain a temperature at that point. And related to that, the airflow of this unit seems to be quite a bit lower than we were expecting.
Yes.
And I think obviously they're both related.
Yep.
Looking at the specs of the 2D versus the 4D heater, this is really where we question whether we bought the right size. The 4D, based upon the usage that we're seeing so far, probably is more appropriate for a truck camper of our size, although the smaller ones might still be good with 2D.
Yeah.
But-
And we sized it based on the internet, the way their website was. We sized it by that, thinking that it would be more than enough for this. So the website was saying that it was good for up to like a 25-foot boat,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So, I mean, obviously you're
We
trying
thought,
to heat a
hey,
boat.
we're 12 and a half feet, so but we do have a basement, but I thought that would have been
That shouldn't
comparable.
affect it that much.
Yeah, we thought that would be comparable, but as we're finding out, it's really not the case, especially if you're planning on doing a lot more winter camping.
Why can't I figure this out?
The next con is the thermostat.
Yep.
I think now that we know how it functions, it's fine, but understanding how it functioned at the very beginning caused us a lot of confusion.
Yes, the instructions say to burn it in for 2 hours at high power. Well, we just turned it all the way up to like 75 on the temperature thing and assumed that it was going to be high power. Well, it turns out after we were reading some internet stuff that it wasn't on high power. You got to go to a certain setting to turn it up to 100%.
The thermostat actually has 2 modes, and we weren't aware of that. The mode that we saw at the very beginning is just your regular thermostat. And there is a second mode called power mode or manual mode where you can change percentages. I'll share that with you right now. We are in the automatic mode because it shows the temperature there. So I can, that was the actual temperature was 67. So I can turn it up with the plus or minus, or I can use my finger to lower it, kind of drag. You got to play with it a little bit. This has the actual temperature right now at the thermostat because I do have it running off of the panel temperature. And again, this is the automatic mode. If you want to go into the manual mode, it's a little bit weird to find. So you have to go to the gear on the right side, and you're getting into this setup information. Then you go into heating mode. Right now, the panel sensor gives you the automatic function. The power option down here gives you the manual mode. So I'm going to click on home and then home again. And give it a moment, and you're going to see that it says 10%. So when you see the percentages, you know you're in manual mode. If I wanted to get our camper heated up quickly, what I would do is I would click that plus until I get to 100%. I would let that run until it gets to the temperature I want. In order to turn things off, you just click that. It will show you this stop button, and then it will show you eventually a snowflake. The snowflake shows that the thermostat is off. You can click it to turn on the heat so you can see the little heat signs. Right now, you wouldn't necessarily know whether you're in manual or automatic, so you kind of have to hit the plus and minuses to see that, and because it's in percentage, I know I'm in manual mode.
So let's say we're driving down the road, we get into our coach, and it's 44 degrees, and we want to get it up to 70 quickly, or fairly quickly. You need to turn it on that power mode up to 100%, let it get the temperature, then you adjust the temperature on the other side, the other panel, adjust it to the panel temperature, so it'll maintain that temperature. So
Right, and that was something that we missed at the beginning. So that
it wasn't real clear in the instructions. We didn't really miss it. It wasn't there, so we didn't know that.
That has definitely improved the temps in there. Now that we know that, when I get up in the morning, I'll crank that thing.
Because I got to have it warm in the coach. I hate waking up when it's cold.
Mornings. Yep. I'm thinking it's still struggling when on those really cold mornings. that we've experienced like around 10, 15 degrees.
We're just going to raise it up a little bit.
Okay.
Good.
Wow, that's pretty snazzy.
That way I can rotate it.
Squirrel!
All right.
Thank you, I can get closer now.
So I thought it would get this burned off a little bit.
Yeah. We don't have fires very often, so it's special.
Yes.
So another con was our incorrect perception of how much diesel this thing would consume. We've always heard that these things sip diesel, and we didn't really look to quantify that
what
before
the
doing
definition of sipping is. So.
Right.
We added a 13-liter diesel tank to the camper, and it gets us about 3 to 5 days on that tank. So,
Which isn't bad, but again, we're not in seriously cold weather, so that could be dramatically different, especially if you're doing more northern or Canadian camping. We've been running the diesel tank for almost 24 hours now. It's been pretty cold here in Illinois. We got to about 15 degrees last night. We actually ran it on manual at somewhere between 80 and 100%, depending on the time of night. Definitely can tell it's still going while we're running around to find out how much diesel we used overnight, since we filled the tank last night before sitting around. So it went almost 1.35 gallons for one night, one cold night, but one night. Again, lowest was about 12 to 15 degrees last night, so definitely can get a lot colder than that. And last night it only got up to about 63 degrees in camp. So what we're thinking we're going to have to do is buy an extra 5-gallon tank, or just kind of portable tank that we can keep around as a backup, because we just don't know.
It depends how much we're driving too. We got it situated where I can fill the tank when I fill the truck as well, but
Right.
I can go a lot of miles on that, where it's questionable whether or not we'll make it on the diesel in that heater tank if we were parked for a week or so.
Right.
So he would tip me off to things that I should be aware of.
So this really isn't a pro or a con, it's more awareness of maintenance of these diesel heaters. I think we started out on the wrong foot because we weren't aware of that manual mode. That manual mode is actually needed so you can kind of clean out the diesel heater, and you have to kind of do that fairly regularly in order to keep that thing clean and free of the carbon buildup. Because we didn't do that, the heater itself actually was much less efficient until Gary ended up cleaning it out. So it's something to keep in mind, that you're going to end up having to burn some diesel in order to keep that thing from not carboning up. I think, we don't know for sure, but I don't think you're going to need to clean it out very often. We just had the unlucky experience of having to do it early because we didn't know what we were doing.
We ran it for a period of time with running it at 10 to 20%, so it got a little bit carboned up. It wasn't horrible, but it was enough that we had to clean it out.
As we said before, we've been using this heater since October. We're not getting this out until December. We were struggling for quite some time to try to figure out the right way to use this heater. And so we have done a couple of additional modifications to see if they were helping it. One of the issues that we had was the compartment that we have it in underneath our dinette was getting super hot because it didn't seem to be pulling enough air from kind of our living room area. So Gary installed several 12-volt fans in there.
Just computer fans.
To try to help circulate that area better. And really what we were trying to do is push air in through that a little bit better, since inside here it was getting pretty toasty. You have a little switch to turn on the fan. This is a commercial fan. If you're interested, we'll put the description below. But it's a little louder than your 12-volt quiet fan because it pulls a lot more air in. And it seemed to help, although I don't know whether it was really the fans that helped it or whether it was the fact that it was already carboned up and we needed to clean it out.
Well,
so we don't know.
It was probably a combination of both.
Yeah.
One thing I noticed is that the temperature in that cabinet will drop a good almost 20 degrees as soon as I do that. So once it's
As soon as you turn on the fan.
Once it's pulling the coach air in. So I got to believe that it's actually helping us some. Besides that, the exhaust system is in there, so it's heating up that exhaust, superheating, and it actually adds some heat to the coach.
On the plus side, our black tank, which is underneath that, will never freeze.
Yeah,
in
as
the
long
winter.
as that's
Never.
on. Yeah, there's even our water heater will not freeze because
Yeah.
that stays pretty toasty in there as well. So
Absolutely. And something else that we did on our host camper was to add some additional areas to allow the heat to get into the basement a little bit more readily. We ended up adding some inlets there on that side and on this side. We were hoping to try to give access for the air in the cabin to go down into the basement to keep our gray tank and our water tank a little bit warmer. So the sizing of this unit, I think we chose poorly.
You chose poorly.
We should have looked at the specs. I'm going to show you a chart that compares our old propane heater to the 2D and the 4D option for these Autoterm heaters. And you can kind of see the BTUs are quite a bit less than what we had before. And that should have prompted me to question the size. But we ended up choosing the smaller unit because of the lower current and the lower diesel usage, and we thought that was good based upon what limited knowledge we had. Again, I think if you have a truck camper of our size, which is a large truck camper, we would definitely recommend the 4D instead of the 2D. Although if you have a small camper, maybe the 2D would be sufficient. Yeah. We're just not experiencing that. We are going to have some challenges if we do want to upgrade to the 2D. The intake portion of it is the same. The ducting is a different size, so that will cost us a little bit of work and money to replace that if we choose to go down that path. Right now, I think we're going to stick with it. On the plus side, when we're at campgrounds with electricity in the winter, we can supplement with our fireplace, and that's been pretty good. As I'm editing this video, I wanted to let you know where we stand on the heater. Right now, we're looking to upgrade to the 4D heater from Autoterm. We're working with them to see if we can get some discount or something like that. So I might have a 2D heater to sell in the future. I don't know if we're going to be making the same mistake that we did before, though. Should we be going to an 8D if you look at just BTU? I think we're going to go ahead and try to go lighter and do a 4D. Tell me whether you think I am nuts or not in the comments below. I think we got everything. I think. Okay. Thanks for stopping by. And as always, leave every place you visit just a little better.
and we'll see you on the next trail.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.